traveler. Time traveler. Life phase, loose translation. Maybe you can get the message clear. I'm just saying, hey, you playing with a fragile design. Dynamite out of sight, JJ blowing your mind. It ain't no mystery, they hide the history. You said the king, needle in the army, the guy that Phoenix took our dreams. We chase for the glory of fame. When you living, all you got is your name. You sustain. We made it out the rhythm of life. Kinetic science and alignment, even God got a price. Breath is elevation, mind glowing light. Hands gripping transformation in love with a night. Mind getting clear from the pain of your past. Shaking from the echo of the loud gun blast. Time traveler, Acuna Black still living. Mind still driven. Breaking all the walls of tradition. Becoming locked in with the gods. Brothers opposition, us kings look odd, but we push evolution of life. Past the stagnant souls of mind as we're out of breath. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine.
Oh, looking out the window, hey, watching all the time fly by. Looking out the window, looking out the window, hey, watching all the time fly by. Time fly by. Oh, looking out the window, hey, watching all the time fly by. Looking out the window.
Timeline life survivor on a mission for the cause. I embrace all my flaws in the land of the doors. Off the cause, got us all gassed up off our sin. Playing out life trend in a battle of the skin color. Brother from another mother, still call you my kin. Closer than a friend, looking past external. In my brain, you try to hurt you. Use your weaknesses to burn you, laugh and virtue. But they'll never learn the real you. Blind can't see true brilliance in their eyes. Flying at the sky while we fly 5280 high. Why deny the fact? Wisdom artifacts missing up. Their ears trying to get the message clear, but the fear make the weak mind still clear. Breaking for the ones that don't know. We open up the heart so the spirit can grow. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine bright. Concepts still shine.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome to a Full Armor Movement broadcast. We're doing from roots to branches today, and we're diving deep into the conversation on a variety of different topics. But before I get into that, I'd like to go ahead and welcome my guest, Zayael. How you doing, my brother? How you doing, Aunt?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm just, enjoying the rest of this weekend, I guess, or the first day of the week, whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
yeah, man, I'm just relaxing, man, and just chilling, man. How's everything going in your world?
Oh, good. I was just playing the game with my nephew and just relaxing, trying to enjoy
Nice.
the weekend. So, yep.
Nice. Well, I'm glad I could grab you, man, and get you for a little bit, man, just to build out of the
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
Yeah, I've been meaning to touch base with you for some time, man, and get you on one of these from roots to branches, man, for a little bit now. So I'm glad that I could get you, I caught you, and we can build today, bro.
Yep, most definitely.
Yeah. So what you been on, man? What you been studying as of recent, man? What you been on within your
Um,
studies as of recent?
Not much outside of just trying to learn I've been having the urge to learn more about the Morse because like as of recently I've been hearing it in like different people's music and stuff about the Morse, and then even the link that I sent you, I was like amazed about like how much like impact that they had, on their land at that time, and like how much like just how much knowledge and stuff that they possess, and how they were like literally just trying to spread it, and like they were like bringing in pretty much like positivity into the world. So Yeah, I only touched a little bit of surface. I only know just a little bit, so I'm just in the beginning. But outside of that,
Okay.
like I've been really busy. It's been hard trying to, but I'm trying to get back into doing my research and trying to read and stuff again. So
Nice. That's what's up, man. I'm glad that you brought up the Moors. You know what I'm saying? Like that's one of the roots of where I came from, like into this knowledge is I was really into studying the Muslim Moors, and that brought me into understanding more of the Hebraic truth as I started going into the word, into the Torah, into the Bible. So, like I feel like Shalom, Aki, Shalom. I feel like that's an important root, you know what I'm saying, for all of us when we're talking about who we are within history. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel, it's one of the things that I don't know how many Hebrews actually go down that road to actually find out about the Moors, because the Moors actually have a close relate. I mean, they're us. To be honest with you, when you get into the categories and the groups and the ways that they were broken up into, into Europe, into Spain, into Italy, and all those countries around there, all of that is us. It's just, we were called Moor, and there was different styles of Moors, but that's a deep conversation when we start getting into that. Shalom, shalom. So, like, what's your knowledge and your perspective on the Moors? Because I'm going to show a video kind of talking about Moors, but I'm going to be talking about it from the noble Drew Ali perspective, and then we can get deeper into like some of the actual ancient knowledge within the Moors within Europe.
yeah, so one, I mean, there's literally like 800 years plus actually of like of like information that we all really need to try to get to, at least try to know at least the basics. I mean, there's so much stuff that you can learn from them, because a little bit from what I understand is like, they brought science, they brought they I mean they brought science, they brought archaeology, they brought agriculture, they brought all this knowledge to, to a lot of these people that didn't have little to no kind of culture. And it's crazy because it's like everything is like flipped, because even when you come down to like inventions and stuff, they're always the people that when you look up certain inventions, it's only attached to a certain kind of people. But like when you read about these people and how, when you read about it said, from what I understand, that they had one of the most like attractive cities like around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, I like I said, I only know a little bit. Like I can only speak from what I've read so far, but yeah, they were definitely something. Like when I was reading some of the stuff I was reading today, like I was beyond blown away.
Like
So now I
that's
understand
one
what
of
you
the
said.
Sure. Like that's one of the connections that I usually go to when we're talking about like a lot of the indigenous people here in the United States. A lot of them were already connected into Moorish culture. A lot of them already had Hebrew culture within them, especially when we start talking about like the Moors that like settled into like the Carolinas, that settled into Florida, that settled into even like New Orleans and places like that. When you really get into like the root of who they are and their knowledge, they were originally Moors. And like a thing about it is like a lot of the when you start talking about the Shriners and the Fezzes and everything like that, especially when you start getting into like New Orleans, you see it right there in their culture. It's not even something that they even think about. It's just a part of their culture. So like,
Mm.
a lot of and I feel like that's one of the conversations that we've been having as Hebrew people is like, did we all originate from the Igbo? Are we all from like Africa? Are we all from that region? You know what I'm saying? And like it does say in the word that will be spread to the four corners of the earth. You know what I'm saying? So I think like when we really start getting into the indigenous people and who the indigenous people are of the world, not just not in just regions, you start seeing you start seeing Hebraic, you start seeing more culture in a lot of these indigenous tribes, even here in the United States.
Yeah, like even in scripture, like even before like you get into like the Atlantic slave trade, the children of Israel have been scattered way before then, to be honest with you. So I mean, it makes us a lot of sense when you hear people say that, oh, we were already here kind of thing. So it makes sense because I mean, even when you can even talk about the whole Christopher Columbus thing because from my understanding and is that according to the I think it was like I believe it was in Second Ezra, it was talking about that there were going to be some people that was going to be in a certain part of land that they've never known. You know what I mean? And that's how he was even able to even locate the United States and the people that were already here because he knew from what I like I said from what I understand he knew that the children of Israel was already here. So
And that gets even
yeah,
deeper too, because you start finding out he was a Moor. You know, like
yeah,
like that's a crazy, and a lot of the people that were on both sides, you know what I'm saying, of the transatlantic slave trade, you start seeing some of our faces on that side too. You know what I'm saying? When we start talking about the conquistadors, we start talking about some of like the actual uh people who are coming over here, and I think that's one of the hardest things for us as Hebrews to actually like swallow, but it's an important thing for us to acknowledge, is that we played on both sides of this battle of what we're dealing with. And there was a lot of us during, colonization that sold our birthright and sold our bloodline to be grafted into the Christian, into like the colonist, system that was being put into place. So like, we can acknowledge that we were part of the people who were brought over here as slaves, but we also have to acknowledge that we were also, part of the trading as well, because that's an important thing to acknowledge, and it says a lot about us even in this time, in this day that we're in. There's people who know that we're Moors. There's people who know that we're Hebrew now, but they don't want to. It doesn't benefit them to really tell that truth, depending on what their job is and depending on how they're moving and operating in the world.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
The way that everything went down was it was like yeah, it was crazy how everything just went down the way it did and how successful they were doing it too. But
Uh,
I mean,
I'm gonna show a video. Do you mind if I show a video that's kind of diving into
no, go
that?
ahead. Go ahead. The more knowledge I grasp, the better, because I really want to learn,
Oh, nice.
learn about all
We,
that
we
stuff, especially about the conquistadors too, because I've never read about them either. So,
Okay. We're building it. We building it. So like this video that I'm about to show, it really dives into sovereignty. It talks about some of the narratives that are going in within the Moorish culture, how people are kind of portraying Moors. It's kind of similar to the Hebrew narrative. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a mainstream narrative of what they want to depict us as, not realizing that there's nuances within our culture and the ways that we all move. So this kind of dives a little bit into that. I'm going to show a little bit of it. I thought it was a dope interview. It's from Vice. Um, yeah, credit to Vice on this as well. But yeah, let me
Freedom is why
get
I
through
love
this
doing
commercial real
apartment
quick.
deals, just like the one you're seeing on the screen now.
Mute. All right, there we go.
Moral concept. We were, as Senator Henry Berry said in the book by Carter G. Woodson, he says, if we keep miseducating the Negro, we'll have him like a beast in the field. So we were like a beast in the field. So the Moorish Science Club of America is a salvation for our people to get back those things that we lost and we deserve. We need it just like everybody else in this world. We need all those components to be recognized by all other nations throughout the world as a viable community. Through the Moorish Science Club of America, which is a religious corporation, we have donned the garment, if you will, of a free national person bearing his free national consciousness, free national movement. We said we'll join the pool of nationalities, but we won't join it as a mark of Negro, Black, and colored. So the Moorish Science Club of America put together by the Prophet Noble Ali has given us the opportunity to join the pot of nationalities as Moorish Americans. And that's what the Moorish Science Club of America is set up to do, to give us back our nationality as Moorish Americans, descended Moroccans born in America. You are more. You are more. But to be a Moorish American, you must join the Moorish Science Club of America, which is a religious corporation. And the members of this religious corporation are known as jural persons. We are juristic people. I mean, which means that we're a religious government, which also means that our nationality is our religion belonging to a religious corporation.
And then real quick, I just want to kind of dive into what he's actually talking about. So there's actually some movements being actually made within the Hebrew movement, you know, where it's really starting to organize and dive into sovereignty and nationality within being Hebrews. And, you know, some of this was initiated through the ideology of, you know, the Moors for sure, who were probably the first ones to like nationally like kind of really found this style of movement. But we already know through scripture, through our bloodlines, through our research, through our study, that we're already a part of a nationality. And I think that's an important thing to also acknowledge when we're talking about the difference of like you know, temple Muslim, and I say Muslim, not Muslim, but Muslim Moors that are considered themselves Moors within the Americas, just because when it gets down to the root of the faith, there's a strong difference within some of that, just because we believe in Torah, which is our law, and they follow laws as well, but their laws are rooted in different knowledge. So it's an important thing to delineate as we get into some of that information. Do you want to chime in and say anything, bro?
Yeah, when they was talking about the miseducation, the first thing that came to my mind was there was a video that I saw from back in like the 50s, I think it was. It
Mm,
was like it's called How to Sell to a Negro and stuff. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but yeah, it it completely like yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
when you start getting into like the conditioning, you know what I'm saying? The subconscious
Right,
conditioning and everything that plays
right,
into that. It's been rooted for a long time since slavery, you know, since like, you know, the freedom of slaves and the building of colonies and things like that. So like a lot of this information on how to condition us is a part of the curses. You know what I'm saying? And within it being a part of those curses, like we also got to acknowledge, why did we lose power? You know what I'm saying? What happened within history for us to be in a place, shalom, shalom, for us to be in a place where we no longer are the head and now are the tail. You know, like there's a lot of information that we have to take accountability for, you know,
right.
like in a historical standpoint, because we played and I think it's an important thing for us to acknowledge that we played on both sides of the line, because like a lot of that
Yeah,
ancient knowledge, a lot of that sacred knowledge, whether we're talking about it biblically or we're talking about it scientifically or we're talking about sacred knowledge, it came from us. But how did they
hmm,
acquire it? And they didn't acquire it necessarily from them stealing it. Some of it was given, you know?
right.
Yeah.
You can probably go. This is the conversation you can have about King Solomon because
Mm,
like he established trading areas within Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like he did that, and it's like he did that, and alongside that, I mean, just like you talking about the sacred knowledge. Well, where did all that come from? It came from him. He passed that down through his children and through their children's children, and like even the people that were even around them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and it's just like the Most High, even though, I mean, it's like he built this up and then slowly it all came, like it literally came down. And then now it's just like we're rebuilding, but then it's just like we're rebuilding on like the Most High side. And then you have people that have the Most High side, but then they also have, with this called the sacred knowledge on top of that. And it's just like we're still like all over the place. It's like we're trying to, it's like we're trying to get there, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. But
No, that makes perfect sense, bro. And
yeah,
I
it's
think
it's crazy.
Yeah, the righteousness component is the key. You know what I'm saying? In my personal belief system, you know what I'm saying? I think it's real easy to sell out when you don't understand that you already got the keys. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the time, the people who sell themselves out or sell themselves short, they don't realize that they already got the keys to the kingdom. And really, that's the whole thing when we're talking about the book of Revelations of coming out of Babylon. You know, like what are we talking about? We're talking about systems, we're talking about ideology, we're talking about a construct, we're talking about coming out of that physically, but also spiritually, but also mentally. And you know, it's interesting because like when you start really getting into like, you know, what the Moorish belief system is, it is really close to what we believe as Hebrews. But you know, there's some other things that kind of overlap as well when we're talking about um specifically when we start getting into the New Testament, which is another thing that I wanted to talk about too. When we're talking about salvation, when we're talking about Hamashiach, you know what I'm saying? When we start talking about that, then it becomes something different outside of law. Understanding that Torah means law, and I think that's an important thing because that's what made Yisrael, Israel, such a powerful, you know, entity in itself. Is that they had laws that the rest of the nations around them didn't have, and it kept them accountable, it kept them thriving, it kept them pushing forward, and then it kept them uh in a moral compass that a lot of the other countries, or I should say nations, didn't abide by. So those laws, even the Moors talk about laws as well, and I think that's an interesting thing too. But those laws are important, man.
Yeah, very, very. And I mean, and once we start getting diving into that again, just like back in the tour, man, like people be like, them Israelites, no, don't mess with them because, the Most High is going to fight for them if anything goes down,
Exactly.
and that's what we need to get back to. But
Agreed.
yeah,
Agreed. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this just to dive in a little bit more of the conversation. The dude who's actually interviewing him, he's like he is a journalist with Vice, and he does some interesting interviews. And I thought this one was an interesting one just because of the fact that he wanted to kind of highlight some of the controversy that's going on with the Moorish temple. I feel with anything that has people of dark melanated hue, when we start like actually coming at a higher consciousness or different perspective, we tend to get ridiculed, you know, based off of whatever the mainstream narrative is. And I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting that he wanted to cover that. So I'm gonna dive into a little bit more, and then we can dive into conversation again.
Right here in the county of Cook, in the state of Illinois. As the Vatican is who it is, as a Jewel society in Rome, in Italy, which is a sovereign country. The only other organization that can be compared to the Moorish Science Temple of America is a religious Jewel society.
Like the Vatican.
Si, senor. Yes.
Why is it so important for you all that you have a nationality?
In order to be a citizen, a legal citizen of the United States of America, you must have a nationality. If you don't have a nationality, you will be granted a privilege that can be taken away when they want to take it away, like the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act is not for citizens, it's for a group of people who never proclaim their nationality and want to vote. They never said, I'm Moorish American, or I'm Jamaican American, or I'm Haitian American. Citizens of our government never needed a Voters' Rights Act, never, because they're already citizens. So that law puts them, unfortunately, in a position that they become citizens long enough, as long as they say so. As long as they say so. It's so important from a spiritual, religious point of view first, because the Bible says, and any religious book says that when you honor your mother and father, your days will be longer on the earth land in which the Father God, who we call Allah, have given to you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there. Um, he hit on like a lot right up in that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you really get down to what he's talking about, he hits on a lot. What you got? You look like you ready to say something.
Yeah, yeah. So when he was talking about, us voting, right? Well,
Sure.
according to Deuteronomy, the Most High told us not to set anybody that's not of our people above us.
Come on
And
now.
that's one of that's one of the major issues, because we, us as a people, we're it's like we're trying to like get like what's the word I'm looking for? Like we want them to like accept us kind of thing.
Mm,
So it's just like we're trying to be on their level when indeed we're above that, because the Most High told us that we're a peculiar people.
right.
And it's just like we've been fighting way too hard to try to like get our get voting rights and all this other stuff, and that's the problem with the whole nationality thing. You know what I mean? But it's
Mm,
just like we've been given a so-called nationality, but it's crazy. Like if you look up the nationality that they give us, it has so many negative like definitions behind it. It's unbelievable.
right.
And
Right.
yeah, and that, I mean, it's just very sad, like how like all of us we've lost our way like completely, and we're looking to a people that will never like even spread. I mean, you can even say the society that will never accept us, and it's not about them accepting us. It's about us accepting us for who we are,
Come on now.
and then coming back to learning about who we are. Because everybody, if you look at any other like nation, they know their history, they know where they come from, and like us, we're like the only people that don't know.
Right.
And so that's if anything, like, and that's what I'm like hoping for, is like like that alone should like want all of us to like come together and be like, especially when it comes to the whole more hello.
Yeah, yeah. You still
Oh,
there? What's going on? You freeze?
hello.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still here. If it froze up, don't worry about it. You can hop back on. Yeah, yeah. You froze. All right, cool. Um, you still there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. Um, yeah, like that's one of the things that actually amazes me the most, that people get offended about us doing our research on finding who we are. Because the thing about it is like everybody else that decided to be a part of this nation that we're currently in, they had their ancestors at least had the choice to decide if they wanted to be grafted into this ideology of whiteness and blackness, right? A lot of them, like when they became, if they were Irish or if they were Italian or whatever, even if they were Jewish, if they came over here, they had the opportunity to opt into this narrative of whiteness where we didn't have a choice. Like we were already here. We had already been like dragged over here, or if we were already here, whatever narrative you want to play on that. And then within it, we don't have a choice on the labels that are put onto us. And then when we decide to put our narrative on us, when we decide to be like, nah, I don't want to be black no more. I don't want to be colored. I don't want to be Negro. I'm gonna be this. People get offended, right? And then the thing about it is, it's okay. And this is a Hebraic conversation, right? So anybody can come Christian, but when you start telling people that you are of this bloodline, it gets very controversial only because there's so much around it. You know what I'm saying? When we're talking about structure, we're talking about power, and we're talking about influence. There's so much around it. So when we start telling people that we believe ourselves to be of this bloodline, which the Igbo people are pretty hard to deny at this point. Like when you start going to Africa and you see their traditions, and they didn't go fishing for that. They just been doing it forever. Like it's kind of hard to deny that, like, okay, there are more people who look of this skin hue that have this tradition. And then when you get into the root of who we are, outside of the construct of Christianity, just who we were on plantations and the ways that we actually followed a greater creator, just innately, it was just always in us. It was a part of our songs. It was a part of our traditions, a part of our culture. Always, even in slavery, we had this, and that's a controversial thing when we start being like, I don't know. It seems like we could be these people that, you know, that are being talked about in this Bible. I don't know. It feels like us a little bit. It sounds like us a little bit. I don't know. We still seem like we're going through these cycles. Like, I think that's crazy that people get offended about that, because like, I don't think any other culture can imagine what it's like to have something stolen from them and not know who they are, and our own people are the biggest critics. Our own people are the biggest critics. You tell our people that we're Hebrew or that we are the people in the Bible, they'd be the first ones to get mad at you. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
it's a part, and it's part of the whole, and I think of it like a part of the whole generational like curse thing. I mean,
Mm,
even when you talk about another nation talking about they get offended, well, it's a part of their DNA. Their ancestors did the same thing. So, and it's just like it literally boils down to them like submitting themselves to the Most High. That's like, I mean, that's how you can tell if a person hasn't really submitted themselves to the Most High now. Because honestly, if you read, not read, but if you study the book, and obviously, like all these places take place in Africa, so it's just like that should put the nail on the coffin right there. But it's just like when it comes to people, it's not enough for them, and it's like the more if like it's like the more truth information you give them, the like it like tugs at their heart. You know what I mean? Because
it really does.
the truth will really like, yeah, it will really test you. And at the same time too, like it literally just shows you like how much like how real, the Bible really is. You know what I mean? And I think like when it comes to most people, like you can take this for any religion. When they look at the Bible, they look at it as a fairy tale story. And it's like when you go to church, it's like you guys are playing the act. But then when you have people coming out and telling you everybody the truth, then it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It makes complete
Yeah.
sense. Like, that's, one of the things with my awakening, man. I'll be straight up, man. Like, I was in the Morris True. You know my story a little bit. We've talked
Mhm.
about it offline, but I was very much in the Kemet. I was very much into like more science. I came up through like being a 5%er. A lot of that was what I initiated in. But I started out as a 7-day Adventist. Like my grandparents were 7-day Adventists. So like I did Sabbath like when I was a kid and never even really thought about it. You know what I'm saying? I did Sabbath and never really thought about it. It was just a part of my like that's how I went to my grandparents. I knew I was going to go over there. They weren't going to let me watch TV on Saturday. And I love Saturday morning cartoons. And straight up. And then during that time, they were going to make me read the Bible when I was over there on the Sabbath. I just knew that was a part of the routine. You didn't argue it. It just was what it was when we were coming up. So like that was my initial engagement within church. And I feel like the Most High was preparing me for where I'm currently at and what I currently know now. But all the chambers of what I went through of studying all these different beliefs, I don't regret it by any means, because like it actually gives me more pieces to the puzzle that I feel some people are in question about, or some people think are like a theory. And I'm like, no, it's not a theory. Like I've actually experienced these things. I've actually done these things. I've actually been through these things. So now that I'm in the Hebraic truth and I read Torah, I read the word, it puts, to me personally, it puts all the pieces even more so together for me. So now that when I look at it, I can see it from different angles and I can understand where other people are coming from, even though I may not 100% agree with them. I can still understand where they coming from. And I'm saying all this to lead into the question, into like what direction I'm going into, um the New Testament. So the reason why I'm going in this direction is because I've had a lot of conversations with you know uh Ox and the Cody's online when it comes to like the New Testament, the relevancy of it, the fabrications of it. Now before we get into it, I'm gonna go ahead and show a video real quick, and then we can get deeper into the discussion based off of the video I want to show. But I want to show this video because there's a few things. Even in the last clip that we saw, they talked about the Vatican and Church, right? And let me see if I got that on here. If I pulled it up, they talked about the Vatican, and the reason why I want to kind of touch on both of these things at one time is because it hits on a couple of key points that I feel are important. Hold on, I might have to pull it up again. I think I took it down because I was doing something else earlier. Um, yeah, I did. So within that, when we're talking about like the Vatican, we're talking about the church, we also have to take into account that when we're talking about colonization, the Vatican Church was the biggest contributor to colonization and why even the Hebrews were pushed out of Spain. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like, um,
yeah.
yeah, man. So let me see. So the video that I'm pulling up right now, it's an important thing for us to acknowledge time frames, right? The 1600s, the 1700s, those were important times, right? Um, the letter J and everything that plays into the letter
Yes.
J. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's an important thing for us to acknowledge because that was right around
That's
the
a
16th century, right?
yeah. That's a
Um,
kryptonite for people, man. Kryptonite.
right. And like when we start getting into like the roots of history, the thing that we have to acknowledge is colonization was something that was happening to the indigenous people and those who wouldn't take on the language. They, the Jesuits cut off their heads of those who wouldn't take on the faith. You know what I'm saying? Which is why so many of our people converted as well, is because that was the whole plight of the Jesuits when we start talking about um the crusades and everything that was happening in that area during that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really when we start getting to the roots of why people were converting to Catholicism, because if they didn't convert to Catholicism, they could die. A lot of them, or some of them got privileges too. um but I'm gonna go ahead and play this real quick. This is like the Black Nazarene. You probably seen this before. Yeah, let me pull it up. I got it playing without showing it. Let's see here. The Black Nazarene. I think this is an important thing for us to acknowledge because it shows us kind of the lie in our face, actually. This is in the Philippines.
Ang hinihiling ko kasi, gumaling yung asawa ko sa kanyang sakit. Pangalawa, bigyan ng magandang katawan ng mga anak ko, sa apo ko. Yun lang yung may hinihiling ko. Wala na iba.
'Sa totoo lang po kaya po namamanata kasi marami po akong mga hinihiling na hindi niya man na po nabibigay lahat pero mas marami pa po siya nabibigay sa akin na hindi ko po hinihiling tas dumarating pa po sa akin. Kaya sobrang blessing ko po kaya po nagsimula mamanata po ngayon.
1600s.
Mm.
All right. So, I just wanted to show that, drop that on everybody.
Interesting.
Just because the Black Nazarene is something that's a phenomenon to a lot of people because there's people in the Philippines who are worshiping a statue that came to them in the 1600s of an image of Hamashiach that is of a black image. And it just so happens that image was right around the time that we were being enslaved, right around the 1600s. And the Vatican Church had a lot to do with the suppression of the images of everything that was happening during that time. But they couldn't get rid of all of the artifacts. There's still countries who have some of those remnants, you know what I'm saying, of
Oh
who we
yeah,
are.
most
You
definitely.
know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on that, man?
Hey, you already know I'm going with this. What was it? Exodus chapter 20, verse 4. When it comes to down to making statues and
Shalom, shalom.
I don't think like the statues the problem. It's like the problem comes in whenever you start bowing down And you saw how all those guys were on their knees, and the Most High up there just shaking his head. You know what I mean? Because it's like this is not how he, their faith. I mean, you can
This
just
is
tell like their faith is there, but all the other stuff is just gonna cut their blessing off. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think the Most High, just like the guy was saying that his some of his his prayers were being answered. Like, yeah, the Most High is gonna reward you for certain acts, but for the simple fact that you were bound down to a statue, what's gonna come with that is curses, because the Most High ain't playing.
all right.
When it comes to
So
that stuff.
we diving into it then. Like, so the worship of Christ, the
Yep.
worship of Jesus. All right.
Right.
I did that. You already know. I set that up purposely because there's there's triple entendres happening in this. There's layers to it. I think like the historical point of the 1600s, it being a melanated man who was of dark melanated hue, who had locks, who um was an image of what they've worshipped, right? Based off of what was happening. And that's why I say, you know, if you pay attention to what it was saying in there, who was the first ones who were conquerors over there? It was the Spanish, right?
Yeah.
It was dark melanated hue Moors that were a part of
Mhm.
this. You know what I'm saying? We got to acknowledge that,
Mhm.
y'all. And the reason why we have to acknowledge it is because we have to understand why we're under curses, right? We have to understand why the Most High had to discipline us. We have to understand why we're in the state of places of where we're in right now. We have to. And the reason why we have to is because when we had power and we had influence, I believe that we weren't responsible with it. And we could look in the book of Kings, and that it shows where we were at in the book of Kings more so than not. You know what I'm saying? Like the book of Kings really breaks down who we are and how we act when we are let to run amok. You know what I'm saying? When we want to do what we want to do, the book of Kings really breaks that down in the truest form of who we are as a people. We want to be royalty, but come on, y'all, we got to acknowledge all of it. You know what I'm saying? We have to acknowledge all of it. So those are some of the points that I wanted to touch on. And then the other thing is the Vatican Church and the image of Christ that they pushed. You know what I'm saying? The image of Christ that they push. Acknowledging what is Christ. Christ is a title, right? Hamashiach is a title, right? We have to acknowledge those things. And the reason why we have to acknowledge those things is because through Christianity, we have been taught that this is his name. It's not his name, it's a title. Why is that significant? Because when we understand that it's a title, then we can understand who he was and what he represented. We have to understand those things in order to understand who he is and who you are and who you are. Because if we don't understand all of these different components to it, I feel what ends up happening is we end up being those people who are sitting there on the float trying to get and worship an image. You know what I'm saying? We're worshiping religion. We're not worshiping the Most High. We're not worshiping our Creator. We're worshiping an image. And that image, I can prove it through scripture, wasn't what even Hamashiach came to preach. He preached the kingdom. He didn't preach about worshiping him. He preached the kingdom.
Yeah, not only he preached the kingdom that was already there, was within their grasp. That was the thing. And like there was just so much stuff that they didn't understand. I mean, even to this day, we still don't understand. But even when it comes down to like the worship side, like it's crazy how um when you read the New Testament, like there's so many times where he said that like the Father is greater than him, or when it comes to the Lord's Prayer, it never said to say it in his name, but he did said some other things. But then again, we can come into the conversation about adding and subtracting from what was said. Now, when it comes to like how he was living his life, you can go back in the Torah and you can find like how he was observing all of these feast days. Even when it comes down to worshiping the Most High, he has that on point. Now, when you get to the worship side, but that's where things should start coming to question for a lot of people, because you're talking about, oh, we should worship Jesus. Well, the Most High said not to worship nobody outside of him. He said there's nobody else outside of him. He said that out of his own mouth. So then that, I mean, Yeah, it's a hard. It's like a hard. That would be one of the hardest things to try to convince somebody of, is like not to keep, like, get them out of like worshiping the Messiah. But it's just like, yeah. But
Well, I'm
there
gonna
is a
pull up
lot
a
of. Go ahead.
no, keep going. No, keep going.
No, no, no. It's, I mean, but there's been books out there that's been written about, on the same subject, about what was added in the New Testament, and what was taken out, and all this other stuff.
I'm gonna read a verse real quick, just for context, just so we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into, I guess, this side of things when I'm talking about the kingdom, or in reference to the kingdom. Um, it says, Matthew 13, 44, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Like, he's telling you how great the kingdom is, right? The parable of the pearl and the great value. He says, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who, in finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all that he had and bought it. He's telling you that, yo, I got this kingdom that you can be a part of, and based off of this kingdom, which is what he's talking about when talking about coming out of Babylon, right? When we're talking about coming out of Babylon, that means coming out of the mindset of Babylon, right? And coming into a kingdom mindset, meaning that we trust in the Most High, and through our trust within the Most High, he's providing everything for us. He's guiding us to where we're supposed to be. He's showing us who we are. And the ideology, when we're talking about the world, is to always keep you oppressed, always keep you in fear, always keep you discouraged. And as long as they keep you fear, anxious, and discouraged, then they can control and manipulate you to what they want you to do. But what Hamashiach came through and said, he was like, no, I got a freedom for you. You know what I'm saying? This creator, greater is he that lives inside you than he that's in the world. Don't worry about the world, because the creator that's inside you has already freed you. You just have to be free up here.
Yeah, that is huge. Mine is a real prison, man.
Right.
And that, I mean, and that's what they've been using against our people for hundreds of years. Even back in Babylon, they had these people's minds so wrapped up around who was ruling over them and stuff, and they were so scared of them. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
And
I
to be honest,
refuse believing that. Yeah,
and that's the whole thing with the fear. You know what I'm saying? The fear. That's why we have to have faith within our creator. We have to have faith within our walk, and have faith within what we're called to do within our purpose, because they control and manipulate you out of your actual assignment, and away from your gift, within fear mongering you. So, like, the thing about history is, the history is a tricky thing. History is made to program. So the more that you understand, like, actually what history is made for versus what we think history is there for, even the things of recent history, like when we start talking about the civil rights movement, we start talking about people who were assassinated, people who were lost, all those different things, those were put into place as a mind trap in order to keep you from actually walking according to the Most High. So everything that is rooted within it is made to, like, make sure that you're always in a place of fear, and you never strive for righteousness, and you never strive for a kingdom mindset, because you're scared of what might happen. Right. And I think that's a key thing when we're talking about the complacency of our people. It's easier to conform than to walk righteous. And the reason why it's easier to conform to walk right, I should say, it's not easier. It's perceived as easier to conform than it is to walk righteous. Just like Adam and Eve, it was perceived that they were going to have all the knowledge that they already possessed, but they gave up actually their gift, not realizing that they already had it. The thing that they thought they were gaining, they already had. So that's the same thing within what we're dealing with right now within our society. The thing that we think we're losing, we already have. We ain't got to worry about it. It's already here. It's just a matter of getting out of the fear mindset, walking in and accepting it. And I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, I know that being unapologetically about the Most High in this day and time is a scary thing for most people. You know what I'm saying? It's a scary thing for most people, because society isn't as open when we're talking about the truth. It doesn't want that. We know the truth, even though we tell the truth, we tell in history and stuff like that. We know the truth. There's more people out there that know what we're saying is true than not. It's just they ain't got time for it. Like, I ain't got time for this, bro. This ain't gonna benefit me anyway in this system that I'm in. So you telling me this is just making it harder for me, because now I got to think about it. I'd rather you not tell me nothing. That's really what we're dealing with, more so than not, bro. That's what
Yeah, and
I've
that
learned.
just and that's boiled down to self-hatred as well. Like that
Mm,
kind of mindset, that's self-hatred. That's I mean, that's been taught to us too. Like it just our minds just revert right back to slaves pretty much when we act like that.
right,
You know, every time I see it, I'm like, that's nothing but self-hatred. You know, every time I see, another black person talk about down to their own people, I'm like, that's nothing but self-hatred. Even if you say, "Oh, I don't like their shoes, they look terrible," that's self-hatred. You shouldn't do that. You don't know their situation. You don't know what they're going through. You
right.
know what I mean? We should always spread love to our people, no matter what. Like, you know what I mean, at all times, as much as possible. Because like it's easy to say, you know, the negative part, but what about lifting your brother up? Because like you can lift somebody up and it can change the whole entire life just like that. They're just waiting for somebody to say something, or yeah, it's just yeah. We
So
got
what
a we got a long road ahead, man.
what's your thoughts on the New Testament? What's your thoughts on
Um,
what's your feel on the conversation that's being had within the community? There's a lot of different perspectives. There's Torah only Hebrews. There's
right,
full Bible here Hebrews.
right.
What's your thought, and I'm gonna be straight up. I subscribe to the New Testament personally. If anybody wondering, like, do I subscribe to the New Testament? Me personally, um I have found truth in it, even though it might have been changed, and I know that to be true. There's tools in it. I'm gonna put it that way. There's still tools in it, even though a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the tools that are in it. There's tools in it, but that's my perception of it. But what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so the worst thing a person can ever do is like denying the New Testament completely is like denying history. So you're denying
Mm,
that the fact that Alexander the Great came from Europe and came down and conquered Israel, even though it's in the Bible. Same thing with Rome. The Romans came and conquered Israel. That's a part of history. You know what I mean? And I think instead of like completely rejecting it, let's try to understand it and you know try to understand it more and try to dissect what's the truth from the lies, kind of thing. So like I think instead of saying like, oh, I don't subscribe just because the whole Jesus thing. Well, let's just take him out of the picture for a second. Let's see what was going on and look at the
mm.
evidence first before we decide not and it's okay for people to disagree with a lot of the stuff that he says, because a lot of the times it does sound like that he's saying that he's the most high, kind of thing. And that's the issue that I have, because the most high said that there was nobody else outside of him and that we shouldn't worship nobody outside of him. I mean, even when it comes about when it talks about the coming kingdom, it says that we're going to be worshiping at the most high's feet, kind of thing. So it's like, you know, um, but at the same time, the Most High, just like with everybody else, like when it comes to Moses and Ezekiel and all these guys came in the name of the Most High, and they were walking and talking like him. And that's the part that I respect from the Messiah. Because he came here, he was like, you guys are, look at what was going on, like, and they were. The Romans were first and forcing everybody in their country to worship their gods, and the Messiah's coming in, is like there's only one person you should be worshiping, kind of thing.
He
You know
did.
what I
I mean,
mean?
he spoke of it. I mean, he was one of the best
Right,
speakers of it.
right.
So this is my question. So as we get into like the book of Romans and the book of Acts, when we start talking about
Right.
Paul, right?
Oh God, yeah.
So we
Yeah.
start talking about Paul. Paul is advocating and from what it seems, he's
Mhm.
advocating the worship of Christ. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
have you taken that differently? Like from what
yeah.
I've
Well,
observed.
yeah, it's like yes and no. It's like one. It's weird because like one book he's saying, you know, like you said, the worship of him, and then another, it's like the complete opposite. But then again, it's like you have to understand that that Paul technically never like really met the guy. You only know him by hearsay. And two, like he was raised by the Jewish faction, like he was raised by these people. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's like you have a little bit of mixture of you have them like because you know a lot of them were you know he was raised up only knowing who the Most High was, and then you have this Jesus figure that comes in, and now it's kind of like when you read his letters, it seems like he's going back and forth on it. You know what I mean? But I think
Right.
that was something that he was battling within himself. But he was battling within himself, just like we all are. But at the same time, it's not. I mean, just because someone advocates for something doesn't mean we have to accept it. That's why it's important for us to look at all the evidence before we make a decision. So like he was trying to help out these churches that had these questions. They had
Mm-hmm.
questions on how they should operate. You know, a lot of the times that people, what a lot of people miss about Paul is that a lot of the times he does state that, he states opinions inside of his letters. In this day and time, people don't understand what fact, what opinions and what facts are. Like they would rather perceive the opinions as facts versus as facts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
And
for sure.
that's the biggest battle because people will fight you too and now about Paul, especially when it comes to the whole unclean food part, when it comes to a lot of stuff that Paul says. But then again, like I always say, if the Most High says no to something, nobody can come in whether they're anointed or not, they can't come in and say the opposite because they'll make them a liar. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The Most High says yes to yes to something, then it's fine. You either accept it or you don't. If the Most High says no, there's no arguments. Like there's nothing you can say. There's nothing the Messiah can say. There's nothing that Paul can say because if honestly, if the Most High says something and say Jesus comes and he says something completely different than what the Most High says, then there's a choice you have to make. Because
Facts.
when the Most High says no, that means no. Nobody can come in. Because even the Bible says too that the Most High isn't like a man that he should lie. He doesn't change his mind.
Doesn't
He
change his
doesn't.
mind.
Once he makes a decision, that's it. There's
That's it.
nothing you can say. You know what I mean? The only time that the Most High made went back on his word is when back in Deuteronomy, I believe it's in Deuteronomy, when he was going to destroy the children of Israel for conspiring against him. The only reason why he changed his mind is because Moses and Aaron reminded him of his promise he made to Abraham. Otherwise,
Right.
none of us would be here right now. You know what I
Facts.
mean? But that's about it. But yeah, Most High, he doesn't change. Like no matter what people say, no matter I don't care how many words and stuff that they add and take away from the New Testament, the Most High say what he said. Like there's nothing you can do about it. And even find evidence that look at the like you go back to Africa, they live those same exact customs, their way of life and everything. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's a little bit of paganism in there, but yeah, but there's nothing that we can do about what the Most High said. So, at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think, when we're talking, I'm a Christ follower. I put it that way. I'm a Christ follower. And what do I mean by that? I follow the ways of Christ in his example, right? Do I believe that everything was perfect within the stories that they've put out? Yeah, everything is perfect. Do we know that there's more stories? Yeah, we know there's more stories. There's books that have been taken out of the New Testament, the Old Testament, all of that. That's not to be questioned. And I think that's a for our people, specifically those who do research, that becomes a frustrating thing to them because when you don't acknowledge that there's books taken out, when you don't acknowledge that there's been things that have been changed about the book, it frustrates people because then you're saying that, okay, you're going to tell me that I'm crazy then. It's like gaslighting to me because like we kind of do have to acknowledge that like, yeah, some of these books were canon. The people who made the books canon say that it's based off of divine order and they prayed about it and the Most High told them to keep out those books. But the more you get into it, it's politics. The reason why they didn't have those books in there is because there was something that they were trying not to show us, and we got to acknowledge that too. And I think that's hard for a lot of our people, especially if we came out of church, because the church teaches us not to question. And I think the question is an important thing because that's where you start getting answers. You know, the more you question, the more you're gonna look down the, okay, I'm gonna go down this road, I'm gonna try to find an answer. Okay, I'm gonna go research here, I'm gonna try to find an answer. Now, just like I said before, it's easier when you don't do that. If you want to acclimate into the grafted system that's at play, don't question. Follow the status quo, do what you're supposed to be doing, shut up, don't say nothing, and just believe what you're told. And that's gonna be the easy. You wanna make a bag, you want to freaking be successful, you want to climb up that corporate ladder, then shut up and do what you're told and freaking play the game, right? That's how it is. But when you start questioning, then that's when the devil starts attacking. When you start questioning, that's when you start becoming opposition to like the lies that are out there, you know? And I think that it's an important thing for us to realize that if we're talking about knowledge of self and us really trying to get, because the cycle of things that we're perpetuating within our families, within our curses, have so much to do with us not acknowledging the things that have actually happened within our families and within those curses. So like when we're talking about, like me personally, I've lost uncles and I've lost my father and my brother to heart disease, right? That has a lot to do with the ways that we ate and the things that we were exposed to. That's just facts. It's hard to talk about, but it's true. And like we had, you know, some drug addiction in there. We've had alcoholism. That's facts, right? Now that's sin. For the wages of sin is death. You continue in that cycle, then you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of what happens within that cycle of things that you partake in. It's just what it is, right? It's the law of nature. It's natural law, actually. It's actually the Most High works in natural law. When you think about his law, statutes, and commandments, it's the most practical thing that you could do for your life in order to have the most abundant and like prosperous and healthy lifestyle, is to follow his law. If you really break it down. Now, it may be sacrificed because we're used to doing certain things, but when you walk down that narrow path, it's probably the most beneficial thing that you could do for your life if you're struggling with a variety of different vices, you know, and we all got vices, you know what I'm saying? So like law, statutes, and commandments are like a way to keep you accountable for those things that you struggle with within your natural walk every day. You know, they're natural laws that keep you healthy. But you know, when we're talking about the New Testament and the controversy around it, I got one more thing. So I want to show I want to show another video that's actually a Christian video. Let me see if I can find it. It's actually a Christian video. And the reason why I want to show it is because it actually breaks down. Let me see. Yeah, it actually breaks down what the anointing is, right? The other thing that we have to acknowledge is Christians, it means the anointed ones. You know what I'm saying? Like when you really get down to like the actual definition, Muslims means one who submits under God, right? Like these are the definitions of these religious terms that we freaking subscribe to. Most people don't even know. Muslim means one who's under submission of God. Christians are the anointed ones. So I'm going to show something from the anointed folks, diving into that. Let's see here. There we go. Let me see if I can find. There it is. The purpose of the anointing. This is actually, you ever watch the Bible Project?
No.
All right. It's controversial depending on who you are, where you at. I think it's a good reference because they're actually just breaking down the Bible based off of Torah. Some of it is based off of Torah, and then some of it is just based off of research and things that they've done. But when I was getting into truth, this is one of the things that I referenced for myself. But yeah, this is going to be talking about the meaning and the purpose of the anointing in the Bible.
In the Bible, involving fragrant plants and spices that make a rich oil to pour on special objects or people. This is called anointing oil. And its meaning is rooted in the story of the Garden of Eden, where God provided water for the dry land and formed the human, filling him with his spirit. This is the first anointing. The oil is a liquid symbol, It's the water of life and God's Spirit combined together, used to mark a person or a place as a bridge between heaven and earth. During his wilderness exile, Jacob had a dream. He sees a stairway leading up to heaven. When he wakes, he anoints the stone on which he slept and called the place House of God, a place where heaven and earth are one. The Israelites built the tabernacle in the wilderness. When it was completed, they anointed the tent with oil, marking it as a place where God's heavenly presence has come down to earth. Israel's priests and their kings were anointed with oil to set them apart as leaders, to mediate God's heavenly wisdom to the world. But they rejected God's wisdom. They led with violence, leading to ruin and exile. Their failure created hope for the ultimate anointed one. One anointed not merely with oil, but with water and spirit. Not merely a bridge to heaven, but heaven itself come to earth. This is Jesus Christ.
All right, I'm gonna stop it right there. So there's a few things that I want to kind of chime in on within that. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I want. Yeah. Do you want to chime in on anything first?
Yeah. So first of all, like, I mean, the first part with the whole Garden of Eden thing, that makes a lot of sense. But like, anytime that you see the Most High anointing somebody, was because they're going to be a king, you know, over
Facts,
Israel,
big
or a
facts.
high priest, for him to give his message. You know, that's the misinformation that they're giving there, because they're saying, I don't know, I just don't like how they put it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, because like they'll even say how they say, oh, well, Paul was anointed. Well, I've never seen Paul being a king over the
He was
children of
never
Israel.
anointed. He was never
Exactly.
anointed with the
And that's
actual
the
oil on
thing.
his head.
Right, and Christians, they use that term all the time when it comes to their pastors. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You know, yeah, and that's why like studying is so important, and accepting the facts is so important, instead of just making up this little fairy tale thing inside of our heads, kind of
Mm.
thing. Now, the last part about the whole water and spirit thing, I'm completely behind it, because that's what was written, that the Most High came down and said, "Hey, listen to my son," kind of thing, So, but yeah,
So there's a few things I wanted to touch on that too. So
yeah,
one of the things with the Hamashi, the Mashiach, right? The Mashiach is the anointing, right? It's what the actual anointing oil is called, is Mashiach. You know what I'm saying? So like when Aaron was anointed as the priest of the Levites, and the rest of the Levites, they were all Mashiachs, because they were anointed as Mashiachs. You know what I'm saying? David, when he was appointed king, they put an anointing oil over his head. He went through a ritual with the Levites. He had Mashiach put on him. You know what I'm saying? Which is the anointing oil. So like the thing about it is they were literally Hamashiachs. Reason why I bring that up is because our bodies, being the tabernacles, are the bridge between the heavens and the earth. When we're in the anointing and walking according to the ways that the Most High has called us to, then we're that bridge. You know what I'm saying? For the kingdom. That's why he said, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He was saying that the kingdom of heaven is here, right? You are the representatives of the kingdom. All of you that are walking according to my law, statutes, and commandments, that have been like in relation with me. You are that bridge. This is the controversial thing when it comes into like the construct of Christianity and religion. And when we were talking about, is that it's not that Christ wasn't who he was exactly who he was, right? But the thing that we also have to acknowledge is that he was sent not just for the sacrifice. He was an example, and that example is how we're supposed to walk. And the more that we walk like him, and we actually ascend out of this worldly conditioning that we've been in, then we become like him in his image. That's why he said, when I leave, you'll be able to do what I do, and even more so. Why did he tell them that? Why is he giving them all these lessons? Why is he showing them all these things that they are able to do if they're able to self-master? Like he's showing them these things because he wants them to be those representatives, because he's not the only one. And now in the construct of religion, that's a controversial statement. And the reason why it's a controversial statement is because we look at Hamashiach, we look at Yahushua as God, and you're not supposed to compare yourself to God. So like that's where it becomes a controversial statement, which I believe leaves Christians like in this very stagnant place where they don't really try, right? Because they're always living off of grace and everyone falls short of the glory of God, right? So like because like no one could be like God, right? What you're saying is no one can be like Christ, right? But he's also telling you that you can fast, you can pray, you can be in relationship, right? You could do good deeds. These are all things that every person has the capability of doing, right? And if God lives inside of him and the body is a tabernacle, that means that if you're living in righteousness and your body is in the purity of the law, statutes, and commandments, then your body is now a tabernacle that God can live in. So like you, and you're his son, you're his child. Jeremiah said, I'm the son of man. Like Isaiah said, he's the son of man. Like we can go down like the lines of what they
Yeah,
say, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So like this is the thing that I'm really trying to say, is that the New Testament is an example. And if you understand it as an example in the times that are similar to now, because the biblical times of where they're at in the New Testament is very similar to the things that we're currently dealing with right now. The politics that are at play, the power dynamics that are at play, the constructs and the controversy, the racism that's at play, all of that is right now. And you got to acknowledge that, right? So you acknowledge it knowing that if you walk according to law, statutes, and commandments in the ways that the Most High has called us to be, that we'll overcome. We might die. We might die. That might be another thing that's at the play too. But like the thing about it is like if you know who you serve and you know your purpose and you know your assignment and you're walking in it, that's why he's giving you so many parables. He's letting you know you're on assignment. If you're a child of the Most High, you're on assignment. So your whole job is to fulfill the assignment that he set you on to, and to do that within faith eliminates fear. You know.
yeah, and
Um,
it's oh.
no, I took it down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about like how bad do you want to become one with the Most High? Because the Messiah, he talked about how he and the Father is one, like kind of thing. Same thing with Adam, like him and the Most High were one too. You know what I mean? And like I mean, yeah, like we really need to get back to how the Most High operates. Because as soon as we operate in that, there's nothing. I mean, just like when you're reading about the Moors, and it's like why it's such inspiration. Because it's like they say, what was said about them, that they were very fearless. There's nothing that can sway them, kind of thing. And that's how we all need to be. There should be nothing. We need to get to a point where nothing can like scares us. Someone was to come to us today and unalive us, like we should be good. If we get to the point where we're scared, then we know that there's something that we haven't been doing, because everybody's scared to take their last breath because they know as soon as we take our last breath, they know exactly we're gonna come face to face with him, kind of thing. So, and that's where I'm even striving to be, is like fearless, and if I was to die, and I should be good. You know what I mean?
Like I'm gonna be straight up with you. I'll tell you a little testimony, man. Like that got me into this truth is and I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but like in 2020, man, like when I was in like mad transition in 2020. I had a lot of things happening career wise, music wise, otherwise, and I thought I was going in a very specific direction in what I had been planning for, like my vision in my career and my life. And that was my main focus for a long time. And like during that time, man, like early on in 2020, I was supposed to be traveling. I had a passport. I was supposed to be going to Canada, and I had some other places I was going. And while that was happening, I got a call from my uncle telling me that my father had passed away. My biological father had passed away. And when it first happened, man, I discounted it. I just was like, trying to be Like it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The other thing you have to realize too is that I had lost my brother in 2017. So I had like a lot of hits that happened like between 2017 and the 2020 with loss. You know what I'm saying? Losing my brother, losing my dad during those times, who we had strained relationship, to be honest with you. And during that time, man, I was deep into metaphysics. I was deep into like the Orishas. I was deep into like um worshiping of ancestors, all that. You know, that was a big part of my walk during that time. And during that, I had opened up, like I was going through depression and I didn't want to admit that I was going through depression. And then on top of that, I was going through like all of these rituals of meditation and like all of these things. You know, I had my altar up, I had my pictures up of my ancestors, my pops, my dad, my grandfather, people who had transitioned. And I don't know if I was, and this is why I say that there's a spiritual realm, because I know that there's a spiritual realm. I experienced it. And like I had gotten into like really worshiping these different idols, and I started seeing spirits. You know what I'm saying? I started getting visited by like dark spirits. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm an artist too. I draw. So I'm drawing like these images of things that I'm seeing within my dreams. You know what I'm saying? And then there was this one night, man, where I had gotten this opportunity. This is a crazy thing. So I had this one night where I had gotten this opportunity to do like a tour, and like there was a lot of opportunity there, and I just accepted it. Didn't ask, didn't think, just said, yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. Right. And as soon as I said, yeah, I'm down, let's do it, I opened up my apartment door at my old apartment. I had apartment door, open it up. As soon as I opened up the door, there was a owl that was like this big sitting on my balcony, and it just turned around and it looked at me. And then I was like, my mind just like, what? And it just, like, I called my brother. I was like, yo, come here, look at this. And it was this king owl just sitting there. Nobody else out there, just me and him, my brother. And we're looking at this owl, bro, and it's just looking at me, bro. And I start researching, like I'm in the, I'm in the like the tarot cards and stuff like that. I started researching the owl. I started researching all this stuff. And everything I researched, it was like, it showed me some dark stuff within it. Let's put it that way. And then from that, man, I started just seeing like the dark entities, bro. And I started praying to like Shango. I started praying to Ogun. You know what I'm saying? Like those are Orishas. And then from that, man, like this whole floodgates of things opened up. And the only way that I was able to get out of it was to open up the Bible and to pray to the Most High. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
That was the only way that I was able to
that's
get out of it, was to open
crazy.
up the book and to pray to the Most High. And like it convinced me that this is not a fake game. You know what I'm saying? None of it is fake, bro. None of it is fake, bro. It's real from the dark to the light, bro. It's real from the dark to the light. And the thing about it is we can fight, we can argue, we could talk about what's right and what's wrong. But if you don't have a spiritual awakening to the things that you're actually a part of, if it ain't real to you, if it's just like a bunch of knowledge, then like you're not gonna get the bigger picture of what we're actually in right now, because it's very spiritual. And like the Most High is very real, and Hashatan is very real, and there's very much spirits around us that are battling us regularly. And like I can't convince that to somebody who's never experienced that, though. You know what I'm saying? That's not for me to convince them of either.
Right. I mean, then this just shows you like how, I mean, us as a people, when the Most High said that He made us in His image, that's exactly what He means. Like we are able to manifest stuff
Facts.
and bring stuff forth. Like that's why people, like when it comes to like all this other stuff, we have to be really careful because like it's like we open up these doors and we don't know how to close them. So we're over here just like going which way, like, hey, what can I do to get this out of here? That's why we got to be real careful. Like that's why we have to be in line, be in line with the Most High, cause yeah, and I think the Most High did. He came to him, shoot, because I couldn't even imagine, like, being in a dark room trying to go to bed every night and you're going through that. So,
It
yeah, that's
it's a
wild.
blessing, bro. It was a blessing though, because the thing about it was it showed me like how real everything was. And then like the state I was in, like because I had like really been grieving over like the loss of my father at that time and everything that was going on around that, it made me have to turn to the Most High, because I think at one point, I don't know if I was mad at the Most High, man, but I could definitely say that I thought I was greater than him. You know what I'm saying? I really thought myself to be greater than this whole idea of God. You know, like, it's one thing, it says ye are gods, right? It's one thing to see
Right.
yourself made in the image of God,
Right.
and versus to actually think that you're God. You know what I'm saying? And I
Mhm.
think that, like, that's the society and what it's pushing right now. The narrative of what society is pushing right now is pushing this whole God complex, where, like, because we have so much access to one another on social media sites, because people can get 1 million subscribers or 1 million followers and all of that, right? Like, it makes you think that you are something that you really aren't. And it's not under your control either. Like, when you understand that the Most High put you in position, especially if you're of a gift or whatever your gift is, that's not your gift. That's not your gift is under borrowing. That car you drive is, you're borrowing it. That house that you live in, you're borrowing it. It's not yours. And, like, the more that you realize that the things that you have aren't yours, you're borrowing these things. Even a gift that you have, he could take it away and give it to someone else. Those are all on borrowed time, bro. So, like, this arrogance that we have of thinking that we're God and not realizing that he could take your life whenever he wants to take your life is a
Yeah,
deep thing.
it's just misinformation. It's just like we take one small thing and we just run with it. That's literally all it is, and that's just lack of understanding. Hosea 4:6, if you will.
Facts.
You
Big
know what I
facts.
mean? It's just misinformation. Just because it says it's here, God doesn't mean that we are Him or we can be above Him. It just means that we are in line with Him. We are just. It's like it's just weird. Like, because I've always looked at it as the Most High had put like just fractures of Himself on this planet, and we're all different personalities of Him, and it's just our job to become one with him again. It's like we're lost and we're trying to get back, and that's literally what that means. It's like, yeah, the Most High, he gave us power. When he said he gives you power, he gave you power. So it's just like, honestly, if you really want to be like real, that's what he's gonna judge us on. Just how the Messiah was talking about how, I think it was like the parable of the talents. He's like, here, I'm gonna give you this. What are you gonna do with it?
Exactly.
You're gonna leave it here, you're gonna go invest, you're gonna spread, and spread the wealth or whatever. Like the Most High gave us power. What we're gonna do with this power? We're gonna use it for positive, we're gonna use it for negative, or we're gonna use it to grow his kingdom, or we're gonna use it for our own gain. That's literally what all this is all about.
Yeah. And I think, like, that's one of the things that, like, when I'm talking about the lessons in the New Testament, it's chock full of
Mhm.
lessons, man. Like, you can deny the lessons if you choose to. You don't have to believe in the lessons. And granted, yes, if you go into the Torah, law, statutes, and commandments, and there's a lot of lessons in it. For all of y'all who don't read the Old Testament, I don't even know what y'all are doing. But, like, I mean, so much in the Torah of what you can learn just from perspective and just by observing their life. But, like, the New Testament, the same thing. I will say the same thing. Like, you don't have to agree with everything. And there are some things I disagree with a lot in the New Testament. I ain't gonna lie. But, like, I do know that there are valuable lessons that I've been able to apply to my own personal life that I find applicable. Um, that I feel that deal with more. I feel like the New Testament is more spiritual, and the Torah is more like practical, like things that you would deal with within everyday life when you're talking about loss, and the ways to actually live your life.
I would say, like the Old Testament is it teaches how to love yourself. If
Mm,
you love yourself, you'll
mm,
do certain things. If you love your brother, you'll do certain things. If you love your family, this is
mm-hmm,
what you would do. And it's like you said, the New Testament is like, this and that is just the physical side of it, and like the New Testament, in ways it teaches you how to free your mind. So
mm-hmm.
then like you put it together, you become an unstoppable force.
Right,
And that's
right.
where we need to get at. That's how I've always looked at it.
Yeah, no, that's how I see it too. Like, and, like, I understand what people stand on, like, within the New Testament, as far as, my Hebrews. I understand why. You know, especially when you understand history and the ways that history has been manipulated, the ways a lot of these books. The other thing that I will encourage people to really research for themselves is to research the griots, research who the griots were. Like, I know y'all have heard the term griots, right? But like, research where they come from. A lot of the griots were Igbo people. A lot of them were part of the Mali kingdom. A lot of them were Moors. A lot of them kept stories without writing them down. And that's exactly how the Torah was kept. It was kept in your head, and it was passed down like in the ways that you would bring up a mentee, or you would bring up a Padawan, like the Jedis and the Padawans. You would bring up somebody who was worthy to have this knowledge and pass it on to them so that they could teach the next generation verbally. And like, there's a lot of people that don't understand that, like, the roots of hip hop, the roots of Black culture, the roots of Black art come from that lineage of griots, of passing down stories that is very indigenous. And like, they've bastardized it within current hip hop in the ways that they made it a commodity. But when you get into the root culture of what it is, like when we had no instruments and we had nothing, we went back into our indigenous roots of breakdancing, graffiti art, MCing. And that's the most indigenous thing that you can do. It's the most indigenous thing that you can do. They take away everything from you, and you start spray painting and drawing on walls and doing poetry and making rhythms out of old things. It's the most godlike thing you can do. So like, when you understand really what our culture is and the ways that they've manipulated us away from us, and they constantly sell us money. They constantly sell us images of what we're supposed to. Yalo said it right here. The Willie Lynch is current hip hop. Willie Lynch is mainstream hip hop in the ways that it's played out right now. And the reason why I say that is because it's conditioning you to think less of yourself. It's conditioning you to devalue who you are within your blood and your family and your lineage. It's degenerate music. It's degenerate music in everything that it is. So like, when we understand who we truly are outside of these images that are sold to us, then as individuals, it ain't got to be all of us. You as an individual who's watching this, if you can free your mind, you'll free your neighbor's mind. And once you free your neighbor's mind, they'll free their mind. And then everybody starts getting free because they see the confidence, they see the security, they see the reflection of the Most High in you. Not because you say anything, even just by the way you live your life. And you ain't got to say a bunch. Just be righteous. Just do the right thing more times than not. And that reflection reverberates to others who need to see it, you know?
Yep.
All praises, man. We've been talking, bro. I know I'll be talking sometimes too, bro.
Nah, you good, you good.
Um,
Because I can be really long-winded if I wanted to.
Hey man, you're a blessing, bro. I appreciate you chopping it up with me. What are some things that are coming up for yourself, man? Like, what are some things that people can catch up with you and like connect with you on? I know you be doing a lot of knowledge on TikTok, and you be dropping like a lot of information as far as history and a lot of cool things, man. So like, what's some of the things that you got going on?
Um, yeah, I want eventually, I want to get to the point where I am like, once I start doing more research, which I'm gonna start diving heavily because I'm about to actually start, I'm about to buy a computer here soon. And
Nice.
I want to just start doing videos on like the stuff that I'm learning and start, making my own videos and stuff. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe at some point I want to start doing some music and stuff and you know. So yeah, that's
Dope.
about it, man.
That's all dope, man. I'd love to collaborate with you again on some like historical, information, something that you research, something that you want to talk about, something you want to present. Um, let's
Right.
let's build on it because
Okay.
we
Yeah,
got it.
whenever if I discover something new or whatever, or at least to me, I'll just send you a link and then, we'll discuss further. So
Okay,
for sure, for
that's what's
sure.
up. That's definitely what's up. Yeah, man. No, that's one of the things that first connected me with you is just your mind when it came to history and research and um your knowledge of the scriptures and everything like that. It definitely made me interested in who you are and like the ways that you see things. So I appreciate you joining like the conversation with me and my aunt.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Anytime, man.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be doing these more regularly as well. So like the idea is like I'm gonna still be doing like the historical videos. I'm still gonna break them down. It's the editing for me, bro. It's like it takes a lot of time, and
Right.
then I've been busy just working all of that. But I'm starting to do the podcast more. So I want to build out conversations and dialogues, and in between the podcast conversations, I'm gonna do like researched information videos that I bring up that's dealing with us as a people, you know. That's the plan.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. For sure. For
yeah,
sure.
and you know, vice versa, like let's collaborate on some stuff too. I know you're deep in the knowledge too, man. A lot of the, you know, I got a lot of the stuff that I connect is like the diaspora, I guess. Like that's kind of where I go within my research. I do believe, and I know we've had those conversations. I'll probably send some wild information over to you as well. But
Yeah.
I know that like, you know, when we really start getting into the indigenous aspect and the African aspect, and I've had these conversations with indigenous people where they say that a lot of the traditions and cultural things that happen in Africa is things that they do here as well. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
like I think that really connecting and then you know the melanation is really I know you know about the whole whited out, you know, when we
Yep.
start talking about the Native Americans and we start talking about a lot of the indigenous people in the you know, in the Mexican and the
Right.
South Americas and all that. um there's a whiting out of the people, but a lot of those people were of dark melanated hue, and a
Hmm.
lot of those people are us. Is just like there's constructs that have been put into place to make us kind of fight against each other based off of, you know, these racial
Skin color.
constructs, you know.
Yeah.
But like you get
You,
outside of the racial constructs, you know, we start seeing who's who and what's what.
honestly, if you ever want to like learn about any indigenous person, all you got to do is listen to their old songs and what they sing about.
Facts.
Because if you want to be honest, it's the same thing for over in Africa. You know, I don't think it was more. It was more than just them. Like when you were talking about how they were telling their stories. Well, they told you stories through songs. That's like literally the easiest way to remember. You know, remember a story. You know what I mean? Like if you look at you know, the Indians, like they talked about the Most High through their songs. Same thing in Africa when they were singing, they were telling their stories on how they got to where they got through songs, and of course through, you know, like how you said, you know, with the whole you know, writing, you know, and all the other stuff too. So it's like instead of us like, you know, I guess like I don't know the term. I don't know the words I'm looking for, but I like I say, if you would just listen to their old songs, and stuff like that, you will actually see who these people are. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're in tune with the Most High, of course you'll know. But if not, you know, that's something that somebody's gonna. I mean, they're gonna have to deal with on their own. But that's what I would say to that.
Have you now got me going again? Have you ever been like led in a direction to go research? Like, has the Most High ever led you into a direction to like look in a certain style of book or like research a certain area or anything like that? Have you ever felt led by the Most High to do anything like that?
I felt the whole more thing. I feel like that today because something it was just like I really wanted to learn about the more. Like I know I've talked about it. Like I've talked about it for months. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go look it up. And then today, something told me to look it up. And when I looked it up, and I was like, wait, this is very interesting. Because I know you talked about it for forever. And then I finally like looked it up, and I'm like, now I want to learn more about
That's
the
dope.
Moors. And then now with the whole grill thing, I've never even heard of that. So now I'm
Oh,
gonna
I'm
research that.
I'm about to send you some
Yeah,
information. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Go
You,
ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Like I do like a whole like breakdown of that for like my kids, like connecting griot culture to hip hop. Like when I do like classes and stuff like that, I really show them that connection. And I think it's an important thing for us as so-called black folks to understand that lineage and that culture too, because it's in us innately. Like I see it in us, like in everything that we do and everything and how we create and how we even talk. Like it's in us, and like you know, when you talk about how like so easily like creation comes to us, the reason why is because it's a form of communication to the Most High, you know
Mhm.
what I'm saying, and to one another. So like when we're creating, we're actually the closest to the Most High in his reflection in the ways that he talks. You know, he is a creator. So like, you know, like he talks through creation. So it's important for us to make things and even, and this is the thing too, like I got a brother who is a brilliant artist, right? And he creates for himself. You know what I'm saying? And I think like we feel like obligated to share our creations. I don't feel like everyone has to share the creation. If it's something for you, it's for you. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's between you and the Most High and how you choose to share that gift, if you choose to share
Yep.
that gift. But I don't think you should feel obligated to, or it doesn't have to be something that's necessarily a commodity either. Like you don't have to make
Yep.
money off of it. You can just make it because I felt like making this, what I was feeling today. And this is what it is. Because I feel like because of mainstream culture, we critique everything. We critique everything we create and everything that we do. And I think to some level, yeah, okay, I can get it. Like if you're trying to put out the best representation of what you're doing, but I think just the art and the ability to like be able to tap in something that's inside of you and be able to let that out, whether it be through drawing or music or whatever it is, bro. It could be whatever it is. I think it's an important thing for us to just be able to understand that, yo, I'm a creator because the Most High made me a creator like him, you know?
Right. Yeah, as long as he stays in the middle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's the
I
important
agree
part.
with
And
that.
it's easy to veer off of that. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
very easy to veer off. Like
Yeah.
as long as he stays in the middle, because like I know a lot of people they'll do be like, oh well, if I do this, I can make, whatever, but that's not the mindset that we need to have.
It's the
We
culture
need
that
to
we
like
got right now, man. Like
yeah,
everybody wants to
yeah.
be famous. Everybody wants to make $1 million off of what they do. So like that's the first thing.
Mhm.
It's like I feel if you're doing it with the Most High, uh, at the forefront of what you're doing, he's going to provide for it. He's going to put it where he wants it. He's going to do with it what he
Mhm.
will, you know, like a lot of the time you don't got control of that. Even though you want to have control of it, it's not even about you. It's not about you.
Mhm.
It's not about you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know. Man, well, we've been on here for about an hour and some change, bro. Uh
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna let you get back to your life, man. But I appreciate you, chiming in with me. Um, I want to get back online with you and chop it up some more. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be touching base with you just to see what's going on and like where you're at and when you're available, so I can get you back on here, man. Just because I feel like we can get down into some deep history, bro. Like some deep, like you
yeah,
know.
I got lost. And this is my second year in the truth, so I'm like,
Okay, that's straight up. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm still trying to get everything, all the dots and pieces together, and that's why like I haven't been making videos or trying to come
mm,
out with certain stuff because it's like I want to make sure I have like all the information before I like
that's
speak
wise.
on something. So
That's wise.
yeah,
Um, I say it all that to say too, man. Like iron sharpens iron. You know, we all should be building. And I feel like one of the things that when I first got into the truth is like you end up being so happy that you in the truth that you want to tell everybody everything. You know what I'm saying? And then like some of it even like I've gotten past like the racialized things, you know what I'm saying? Like you get so stuck on that sometimes too that you don't realize like it is what it is, and you're a child of
mm,
the Most High. You still called to preach to the nations as well. Um, so like once you can get past all of that and you can start actually getting in that relationship piece with the Most High, it changes the whole thing of what this truth is, because it's constant, bro. Like I recognize the systems that are at play. I recognize the people who've done what and all those things and all of it. I recognize all of it, but it's not something that I choose to focus on personally. I want to like
yeah.
ascend past it personally.
Especially the whole Esau thing. It's like so played out, and it's like I'm like, you guys realize the reason why this happened is because of our own actions. So it's not them. If you want to be pissed off at anybody, you should be mad at yourself first, and you need to have a conversation with the Most High, 'cause He's the one that's sinning is evil. Because again, He created evil, He created good. Do with that what you will. You know what I'm saying? So anytime something bad happens, then you know you done messed up.
Yeah, it's that accountability piece, brother. I think like
Right.
that's the biggest thing with us as a people is that we always are victims. As long as we stay victims, we'll never be able to grow into who we're supposed to be. And
Never be free.
yeah, exactly. And that accountability, it allows us to look at as an individual. Like we always think about movements, you know what I'm saying? That's cool, but like what's your movement as an individual? What are you doing for yourself? Like trying to free everybody else and you drowning. Like that don't make no damn sense. You know, like
Yeah.
you got to free yourself first. You got to you got to build a boat for yourself and put a life mask on for yourself before you can even take care of your kid. You know, so like, like it's not about changing everybody, it's about changing you. And then once you start doing
Mhm.
that work on yourself, I feel like it reverberates to those who are around you. I've seen it happen in my own personal life. So, you know, it's constant work too. And I'm a work in progress daily, bro. Every day I'm battling.
Yeah, just be confident, you know, we're in this godlike body, you know what I mean? It's just walk in it. That's all we have to do. And it's not I mean, it's not a hard thing to do either, you
Right,
know.
right.
So
Man.
but all right, man, I
Yeah.
will catch up later for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. It was good talking with you. I'll be reaching out, and just like I said, like when we start kind of going in more of that researching direction, I got some stuff
Mhm.
that I kind of want to build out too around the Moors. I feel like there's some deeper conversation that we can probably dive into around that specific piece as well. So I like to dive in that with you if you down, man, at some point.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna do some deep research this next coming week, so we'll definitely have some stuff to talk about, I'm sure.
I'm gonna pray real quick, and then we get off. That cool?
Yeah, yeah, no
All
problem.
right, all right. Abba, I appreciate you gathering the Mishpachah, the family, and showing us how to actually have good conversation, how to commune, how to utilize your word to get edification and perspective in everything that we do. I pray over my Aki as he goes out in this world that you protect him, that you watch over him, and that you guide his feet into the prosperity, into the abundance, into the epiphanies of things that he needs within his journey and what he's doing. And I pray that as we commune together, that as we build, those who chime in are able to get something from our gathering in our conversations. Barakatah. All praises to the Most High. Yah. Amen.
All right.
Bless up.
You too, man.